Hey folks, y'all see the title that we got going on here, and this is Elon Musk. The majority of this is going to be video from CNBC, and if you could leave me a like or share or leave a comment, all this sucks or this is cool or anything you want to put in there. Y'all know me. I'm me. Anyway, let's go ahead and get this going. Let me get a Space Ghost. I got it, bruh. Matter of fact, I'm getting out of here too, because we're going to put this up. Now, you see what it says. Let's go ahead and get it going. Tesla CEO Elon Musk sat down for a sprawling interview with CNBC anchor David Faber on Tuesday following Tesla's 2023 annual shareholder meeting in Austin, Texas. During the course of their approximately hour-long conversation, Musk reflected on how he managed the takeover of Twitter so far and what lies ahead. And I told you, because y'all know I've been kicked off Twitter. I was kicked off of Twitter before Donald Trump was kicked off Twitter. They we've had enough of your foolishness. What they meant was truth and facts, and we don't like it. But it's cool. It is. But since Elon's taken over, I was emailed to reinstate my account. But I'm like, I'm good. I'm good. I'll let Sly handle the Twitter stuff. It's just too much garbage going on there for me. Amongst other things, he said Twitter's community notes feature, I don't even know what that is. Twitter's community notes feature has cost Twitter $40 million in business when two big clients reduced spending after their ads received community notes accusing them of false advertising. Well, accusations, if you're going to accuse somebody, you need to be able to back it up with fact, because if not, then it's just an accusation. And I would treat you rather harshly, but that's me. He also claimed that when the acquisition closed, Twitter had -$3 billion in annual cash flow and $1 billion in the bank. The analogy I was using was like being teleported into a plane that's in a nosedive headed to the ground with the engines on fire and the controls don't work. Yeah, but what you actually did, Elon, whether you know it or not, he probably had a inkling about it, but it's probably turned out to be bigger than what he thought. Is you bought a crime scene. You literally purchased a crime scene. I don't know how else to say it. Anyway, he also defended his own tweets that were widely criticized as lending credence to conspiracies about George Soros and a recent mass shooting event in Allen, Texas, insisting, I'll say what I want, and if the consequence of that is losing money, so be it. That sounds like something I would say. Let's see if we can get this to play.
Let's talk a bit about your tweets, because it comes up a lot. Even today, it came up in anticipation of this. You do some tweets that seem to be, or at least give support to some who would call others conspiracy theories.
Well, yes, but honestly, some of these conspiracy theories have turned out to be true.
Which ones?
Well, like the Hunter Biden laptop.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, that was a pretty big deal. There was Twitter and others engaged in active suppression of information that was relevant to the public. That's a terrible thing that happened. That's election interference.
But how do you make a choice? You don't see. In terms of when you're going to engage. For example, even today, Elon, you tweeted this thing about George Soros. Well, I'm looking for it because I want to make sure I quote it properly. But you know what you wrote. But you basically.
It reminds me of Magneto. This is calm down, people. This is not made a federal case out of it.
You also, you said he wants to erode the very fabric of civilization, and Soros hates humanity. When you do something like that, do you? Yeah,
I think that's true. That's my opinion.
Oh, and of course, you have to break in, because if not, then you're not giving commentary. I'll also add, what's the latest deal here on the Steele dossier? with Trump, Russia, all this. It was all that Twitter dismissed back in the day. They would kick you off about it, and turned out it was true. He's telling the truth. It was all a scam. It was all a hack. And so there's another one, Mr. CNBC interviewer. Oh, and let's not even get started on the transfer of wealth from the United States to the Ukraine and to Afghanistan. Which was also conspiracy theory that turned out to be true.
Okay, but why share it? Why share it? Especially, why share it when people who buy Teslas may not agree?
I like that.
I think that's true. That's my opinion.
Okay, but why share it? Why share it? Especially, why share it when...
That's that. What? What you talking about, Willis?
People who buy Teslas may not agree with you. Advertisers on Twitter may not agree with you. Why not just say, hey, I think this. You can tell me. We can talk about it over there. You can tell your friends. But why share it widely?
I mean, this is freedom of speech. I'm allowed to say what I want.
You absolutely are. But I'm trying to understand why you do, because you have to know it puts you in the middle of the partisan divide in the country. It makes you a lightning rod for criticism. I mean, do you like that? People today saying he's an anti-Semite. I don't think you are.
No, I'm definitely. I'm like a pro-Semite, if anything.
I believe that probably is the case.
Yes.
But why would you even introduce the idea then that would be the case?
I mean, look, we don't want to make this a George Soros interview.
No, God, no. I don't want to at all. But what I'm trying, even came up though in the annual meeting. I mean, do your tweets hurt the company? Are there Tesla owners who say, I don't agree with his political position and I know it because he shares so much of it? Or are there advertisers on Twitter that Linda Yaccarino will come and say, you got to stop, man. Or, I can't get these ads because of some of the things you tweet.
Well, how many of those criers that are driving BMWs and Mercedes Benz and don't agree? Don't know the history or know the history of those companies and don't care about it, or about the Nazi the hand rubbing between Henry Ford and the Nazi Party, but you driving around in a Ford hybrid talking smack. See, they don't care about that. It's the political ideology. And the further you stray from the left, the more heat you will get from leftists and the fence straddlers alike. Onward.
I'm reminded of the scene in The Princess Bride. Great movie.
Great movie.
Where he confronts the person who killed his father. And he says, offer me money. Offer me power. I don't care.
So you just don't care. You want to share what you have to say.
I'll say what I want to say, and if the consequence of that is losing money, so be it.
Okay. But I mean, when you link to somebody who's talking about the guy who killed children in a mall in Allen, Texas, and you say something like it might be a bad psyop. I'm not quite sure what you meant, but.
In that particular case, there was somehow that's not that obviously people were killed, but it was, I think, incorrectly ascribed to be a white supremacist action, and the evidence for that was some obscure Russian website that no one's ever heard of, that had no followers. And the company that found this is Bellingcat,
Right.
And do you know what Bellingcat does? PSYOPs.
Right. I couldn't really even follow exactly what it was you were trying to express there, so that's in part why I was curious.
I'm saying that I thought the
Oh, come on, man. You smarter than that.
ascribing it to white supremacy was bullshit.
Okay.
And that the information for that came from an obscure Russian website and was somehow magically found by Bellingcat, which is a company that does PSYOPs.
And there's no proof, by the way, that he was not.
There's no. I would say that there's no proof that he is.
And that's a debate you want to get into on Twitter?
Sure.
Yes. Because we should not be ascribing things to white supremacy if it's false.
So he's okay.
Look, I'm a big believer
God dang it.
that people need to.
So he's okay. He's okay with well, that's an argument. So he's okay with that being hung on somebody's hung around someone's neck like the albatross around the captain on the rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, as long as it's someone that he doesn't like. But I bet if you tried to same albatross around the neck of someone that this CNBC reporter liked, it'd be a whole different story. But anyway, dude, stop it. His personal views and habits when it comes to work, but of course you're allowed to for your opinion, but you're not allowed to create your own facts. Okay, big difference between fact and opinion. Says he takes 2 or 3 days off per year, works 7 days a week, and gets 6 hours of sleep at night. He gets 1 more hour of sleep than I do. Yeah, I know I need to get more sleep, but I got to hammer this out here this next 2-3 months, and then I can go back to half-ass normal. He also said he believes it's morally wrong for people in the laptop class to advocate for working from home when service workers, such as people who work in factories, still have to show up in person. I agree. And that's something else. Me and Truth Teller was stomping on that in that last live stream he and I done together. The one that Sly didn't show up to. You know, he is out somewhere goofing off. But anyway, let's go.
Look, I'm a big believer that people are more productive when they're in person. And really, man, the whole sort of work from home thing, it's like, I think it's, look, there are some exceptions, but I kind of think that the whole notion of work from home is a bit like the fake Marie Antoinette quote, "Let them eat cake." Mm-hmm. It's like really, you're going to work from home and you're going to make everyone else. And
for people that don't, Marie Antoinette, the French Revolution, when people normally attribute her saying "let them eat cake" like she was flipping the people the bird. That's not what happened. Squire and the baker come, like the people are mad, and they want, and they're hungry. And she is like, well, and then she's like, well, give the people bread. Yeah, I'm ad-libbing. Give the people bread. Say, well, we're all out of bread. There's nothing left but cake. She then let them eat cake. See, but people attribute it to what she like, let them eat cake. No, that's not. That's how it's pushed, but that's not how it was. They were out of bread. Say, well, the only thing left is cake. Then let them eat cake. She still lost her head. And so did her husband. And so did Robespierre. Who is Robespierre? Look it up.
Who made your car come work in the factory? You're going to make the people who make your food that gets delivered, that they can't work from home? The people that come fix your house, they can't work from home, but you can? Does that seem morally right? That's messed up.
You see it as a moral issue?
Yes.
I mean, I see it more as just
it's a productivity issue, but it's also a moral issue. People should get off the goddamn moral high horse with the work from home bullshit. Because they're asking everyone else to not work from home while they do.
And yet
it's wrong.
There's still pushback, by the way. It's still going on. This battle is still happening. I mean, leaders of organizations, and I speak to plenty of them, I want people back. I want people back. 3 days a week, they're still battling. It's not clear that it's ever going to change. People are not coming back 5 days a week.
Look, the laptop class is living in La La Land. Okay, as I said, you can't. But look at the cars. Are people working from home here? Of course not. So the people were building cars, servicing the cars, building houses, fixing houses, making the food, making all the things that people consume. It's messed up to assume that yes, they have to go to work, but you don't. How is that? That is, it's not just a productivity thing. I think it's morally wrong.
Although productivity is definitely impacted too, and the ability of people to learn, and I mean, on and on. Listen, I mean, look, people will disagree with me about this, but it's like. So if you want to work at Tesla, you want to work at SpaceX, you want to work at Twitter, you got to come into the office every day.
Yes, I mean, like I'm not saying. I'm saying, like, look, put 40 hours in, and frankly, it doesn't even need to be like, Monday through Friday, you could work Monday through Thursday. And I'm also not saying no one should take, I think people should take vacations. Like I work 7 days a week, but I'm not expecting others to do that. How
much sleep do you get, by the way?
About 6 hours.
You do? 6 hours, typically?
Yes.
No, that's not bad. I thought it would be less.
I've tried less, but my productivity, even though I'm awake more hours, I get less done.
Okay.
And the brain pain level is bad if I get less than 6 hours.
But you work 7 days a week.
Yes.
Yeah.
I actually only, in terms of actually, you say like how many days in a year do I not put in some meaningful amount of work? It's probably about 2 or 3.
Right. 2 or 3 days.
A year.
Yeah, a year.
Okay. Next, Tesla's ability to weather rocky economic cycles. Next 12 months would be difficult for Tesla from a macroeconomic perspective because of increased interest rates, and that's killing me too. Man, the price of these trucks then got insane. I can't see me buying another, even though I need another new truck. I can't see me buying another new truck right now. It's ridiculous. It's really ridiculous on the commercial side of things. But he also said Tesla could take advantage of Tesla's real-time information on demand for its cars to adjust pricing effectively. The Fed is going to be too slow to lower. Look, Feds and slow go hand in hand. I mean, it's the Fed. I mean, come on. Hey, 3 minutes, 55 seconds. Let's go.
You mentioned affordability. It's something you discussed during your meeting. You've also discussed it a bit on the earnings call recently as well, in relation to the Federal Reserve raising interest rates and obviously the monthly cost for a typical auto buyer. Mm-hmm. You think it's going to be a tough 12 months ahead. You've said that a few times.
Yes, for everyone, not just Tesla.
Understood.
So it's, it's simply, you can think of raising the Fed rate as somewhat of a brake pedal on the economy. Frankly, it makes a lot of things more expensive. Certainly things that are bought with credit, but then it has downstream effects on even things that aren't bought with credit. So, if the car payment or your home mortgage payment is absorbing more of your monthly budget, then you have less money to buy other things. So actually, it affects everything, even those things that aren't bought on credit. So, and my concern with the way the Federal Reserve is making decisions is that they're just operating with too much latency. Basically, the data is somewhat stale. So the Federal Reserve was slow to raise interest rates, and now I think they're going to be slow to lower them. That appears to be the case.
Yeah, that may well be. We spent a lot of time talking about that, as you might imagine, on CNBC. Yes. Perhaps too much. But when it comes to latency, that takes me to pricing, because you've discussed the lack of latency in your own ability to understand exactly what's going on in the market for those cars, as opposed to many of the legacy and other competitors.
We have real-time information on demand. So, so we know how many people placed an order for a Tesla yesterday. So the computer calculates that all, and literally every day we get an automated email to the exec staff that says how many people placed an order in which countries for which cars, and so we know what demand, we know what the orders were yesterday. Now you don't want to overreact to these things because sometimes you get like little dips for reasons that are hard to explain.
Do you look at them every day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like I said, you don't want to overreact to if like a week is slow or something, you don't want to overreact to that. But if you look at the trend, say for over two week span or something like that, you can see that okay, there's this for some reason the demand is less than it was, or it's higher.
Mm-hmm. Do you adjust pricing to that? I mean, are you almost like an airline at this point in terms of kind of dynamic pricing model?
Yes. So we basically adjust our pricing to match demand, we obviously did a big price drop in Q1. But now January is usually a terrible time for car buying. So there's seasonality to car purchases. With January is often the worst month. So we did a big price drop, and then recently we did a price increase. So as I mentioned to the audience, the reality is that all car companies make significant adjustments to price because you've got the MSRP number, and then if demand is high, dealers will charge some premium over MSRP. If demand is lower, they will have manufacturer incentives. So you can actually see a very big difference over the course of say 6 months between the peak to trough of all cars. It's just that Tesla is so immediate and obvious and transparent. It's not a question of MSRP and then markups or discounts.
Okay. What could happen to the global economy if China makes a move to control Taiwan? They're going to have a problem with that. And believe it or not, their first stumbling block ain't going to be the United States. Their first stumbling block, I think, is going to be the Philippines. But I'm not going to get into that. The Chinese economy and the rest of the global economy are like conjoined twins. Not really, because China just looking to control. And as soon as they get that, put the hiatus on you, they got you. It would be like trying to separate conjoined. That's the severity of the situation. Well, we had a world-renowned neurosurgeon running HUD for the federal government. I think he knows a little bit about separating conjoined twins. That's the severity of the situation, and it's actually worse for a lot of other companies than it is for Tesla. I mean, I'm not sure where you're going to get an iPhone, for example. That's fine. I don't use iPhones, even though I know what he means. But it's like this. Apples are for eating. Androids are for work and computing. Yeah, I said it. Let's go.
Are you concerned at all about the growing belligerence between China and the U.S.?
I think that should be a concern for everyone.
I think you're right. I think it is shared by many people who run large organizations and smaller ones. Do you think, for example, China will make a move to take control of Taiwan?
The official policy of China is that Taiwan should be integrated. Mm-hmm. One does not need to read between the lines. One can simply read the lines.
Do you think?
So I think there's some inevitability to this situation.
That would not be good for Tesla, conceivably, or for any company in the world, frankly.
Yes, for any company in the world. I think almost no one realizes that the Chinese economy and the rest of the global economy are like conjoined twins. It would be like trying to separate conjoined twins. That's the severity of the situation, and it's actually worse for a lot of other companies than it is for Tesla. I mean, I'm not sure where you're going to get an iPhone, for example. Apple's recently started doing some sort of small amount of production in India, but it's tiny compared to.
It's tiny, not.
Yeah, the transfer over to India has been very small. They just looking for another sweatshop that they can beat into submission. Yeah, I said it, but that's Apple's always been like that. I don't know how many components and Musk cars that come from China. I have no idea. I don't own a Tesla. I'm a gas powered and diesel powered baby. Mr. Platinum likes super unleaded. Well, actually, my platinum name is Whitey Ford, but he likes mid grade and super unleaded. That's about it. But he got a point. But the China thing, the United States, I hate to drag him into it, but Bill Clinton threw China in our laps, and we can't get them out. Through China and Central America, in our laps, and we can't get them out. You know, Reagan opened the door, and Bill Clinton walked through the door.
Mention an advanced semiconductor chip if they take over Taiwan Semi.
Correct.
I mean, you design your own chips, but you manufacture them at Taiwan Semi too, right?
We do some. We use Samsung and TSMC.
Right.
I done 2 full-length videos on TSMC and how the record drought they had was affecting the semiconductor manufacturer over there. Done a full point-by-point, step-by-step video on that. Ooh, during the COOF period. So what's this, 2 years ago, 3 years ago? I still got the video. It's still here.
But
you seem to think it's likely to happen.
I'm simply saying that is their policy, and I think you should take their word seriously. They mean it.
Okay, here we go. I think we got one left after this. Yep, we got one left after this one, folks.
OpenAI, I mean, you seem somewhat frustrated with them. You were one of the...
I don't like it. I've said it. OpenAI, ChatGPT. I don't like it. I don't think it's gonna. It's not gonna turn out like how the people that's cheering and clapping like that toy wind up little monkey with the 2 cymbals in his hands, eek, 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 and banging them together. No, that's not how this is going to end. I can feel it.
Big contributors early on.
The reason I am the reason OpenAI exists.
How much money did you give them?
I'm not sure the exact number, but it's some number on the order of $50 million. Man, fate loves irony, next level. So I used to be close friends with Larry Page, and I would stay at his house, and we'd have these conversations long into the evening about AI, and I would be constantly urging him to be careful about the danger of AI, he was really not concerned about the danger of AI and was quite cavalier about it, and at the time, Google, especially after their acquisition of DeepMind, had 3/4 of the world's AI talent. They had obviously a lot of computers and a lot of money, so it was a unipolar world for AI. And we've got a unipolar world, but the person who controls that does not, or at least did not seem to be concerned about AI safety. That sounded like a real problem. So, and then the final straw was Larry calling me a speciesist for being pro-human consciousness instead of machine consciousness. And I'm like, well, yes, I guess I am. I am a speciesist,
So am I, because I'm not a freaking robot.
Right, so you helped to the creation of OpenAI. You put in as much as $50 million.
More than helped. It wouldn't exist without me.
It wouldn't exist without you. So
I came up with a name. Right. The name OpenAI refers to open source. So the intent was, what was the opposite? What's the opposite?
I didn't know Elon Musk coined the phrase OpenAI. I had no idea.
Of Google would be an open source nonprofit, because Google is closed sourced for profit, and that profit motivation can be potentially dangerous.
Should you have gotten governance for that money? Should you have gotten some level of control, perhaps, in retrospect?
Yeah, I fully admit to being a huge idiot here. Um, so anyway, so OpenAI was like meant to be open as an open source. It was created as a 501c3, so part of it is also in the beginning. I thought, look, this is probably a hopeless endeavor. How could we possibly compete with? How could OpenAI possibly compete with Google DeepMind? I mean, this seemed like an ant against an elephant, which is not a contest. And I was also, I was instrumental in recruiting the key scientists and engineers, most notably Ilya Sutskever. In fact, Ilya went back and forth several times because he would say he's going to join OpenAI, then Demis would convince him not to, then I would convince him to do so, and this went back and forth several times, and ultimately he decided to join OpenAI, and really Ilya joining was the linchpin for OpenAI being ultimately successful.
So you're very disappointed in what's happened there in terms of it becoming a for-profit. Did you take any action? Sue them in some way?
I do think that there's some... look, it does seem weird that something can be a non-profit open source and somehow transform itself into a for-profit closed source. I mean, this would be like let's say you funded an organization to save the Amazon rainforest, and instead they became a lumber company and chopped down the forest and sold it for money. And you'd be therefore like, well, wait a second, that's the exact opposite of what I gave the money for.
Yeah.
Is that legal? That doesn't seem legal. And if it is, and in general, if it is legal to start a company as a nonprofit and then take the IP and transfer it to a for-profit that then makes tons of money, shouldn't everyone start? Shouldn't that be the default?
Right.
And then I also think it's important to understand the when push comes to shove, let's say they do create some digital superintelligence, almost godlike intelligence. Well, who's in control?
Yeah.
And what exactly is the relationship between OpenAI and Microsoft? And I do worry that Microsoft actually may be more in control than, say, the leadership team at OpenAI realizes. I mean, Microsoft, as part of Microsoft's investment, they have...
Look, Microsoft, anything in Microsoft gets involved in, if anybody been paying attention, they will take control of it. Now, when the SEC and all kind of other people find them guilty and charge them billions of dollars, that's not nothing to them. They'd rather take that because the capability, information, and data that they've pilfered up until the time that the SEC and whatever judicial body that takes Microsoft to court and charges them millions or billions of dollars, the property they've gained up to that point far exceeds anything that a judicial system can charge them on.
rights to all of the software, all of the model weights, and everything necessary to run the inference system.
So they essentially have a great deal of control.
At any point, Microsoft could cut off OpenAI.
Okay, and I think this is the last one. Yep, this is the last one. His political views, including his belief that Side Road Joe won the 2020 election and it wasn't stolen, but that he thinks there was at least some voting fraud. Oh, there was a lot of voting fraud. I'm not gonna verifiable voting fraud. Now the stuff that hasn't been able to be verified, I'm not standing on it. I'm not touching it. I only stand on and touch on the obvious ones. Well, Nick, what are you talking about? Well, like the ones we had in certain counties where you had 50,000 registered voters in this county, yet and still you got 58,000 votes. How can you have 58,000 ballots cast when you only have 50,000 registered voters in a county? That means 8,000. Let's say all 50,000 of them push the big blue button. And in certain counties, that's viable. Wayne County, Michigan, whatever county Chicago is in, whatever county Philadelphia is in. I get it. Los Angeles, Berkeley, I get it. But when you have more ballots than you have registered voters, the only conclusion is that it's voting fraud. It's fraud. The figures don't lie, but liars do figure. Now imagine if it was a county where Orange Man Bad it was switched. He got 58,000 votes in a county that only had 50,000 registered voters. Nancy Pelosi would have been screaming from her freaking perch, and Barbara Boxer would have came out of retirement to raise. Now, Ruth Bader Ginsburg would have dug herself out from the great beyond. Don't play with me. Don't play with me. Play with somebody else. Don't play with me.
We're coming up on an election. I mean, it's a ways away, but it's going to all start.
Yeah.
President Trump is allowed back on the platform. He hasn't actually come back.
Right.
But one would imagine if and when he does, or there are others who will say 2020 election was rigged. Is that something, I assume that's not something you believe?
Well, I think the answer is nuanced. Do I believe Biden won? Yes, I believe he won.
And you voted for him.
I did, actually.
Do you regret that?
I mean, man, I wish we could have just a normal human being as president. That's what I want. I think if we could, there's that old saying of like, we're better off being run by people picked at random from the phone book than the faculty of Harvard.
Yeah.
I don't know who said that, but it was someone very wise. And I would say if we could do that for the president, that would be great.
You think that would be beneficial? So you're not, obviously you're not happy with Biden.
Don't we all just want a normal human being to be
whatever
the president?
That means, whatever. I'm not even sure anymore what normal means.
No, but I mean, just, I don't know.
Okay, and you are happy? Well, see, wait a minute. I can't say, and you are happy with Biden, because trust me, there's a lot of operatives that love what's going on right now. See, because it's easy for them to move around and do what they got to do when they know the eggs ain't getting scrambled properly on the other side. I'm trying to keep it clean because I don't need that bot coming over here trying to give me the bot.
So
you want somebody who's competent.
Yeah,
that's helpful.
Yes, I think definitely somebody's executive ability is underrated. Since the president is effectively the chief executive officer of the country, it actually matters if they are a good executive officer.
Yeah.
It's not simply a matter of do they share your beliefs, and but are they good at getting things done? There's a lot of decisions that need to be made every day. Many of them are unrelated to moral beliefs.
Right.
And you just want a good executive. Because they're CEO of America.
They are.
So we want a good CEO of America who's going to be an effective.
Unfortunately, we live in highly partisan times where there is war about everything, including ideas, including the truth, which gets back to it's not true that the election in 2020 was rigged. It wasn't stolen. And I wonder on the platform, when you see that, does that end up in a community note, or is that something you take more action on? And obviously that applies to so many.
I mean, to be clear, I don't think it was a stolen election. But by the same token, if somebody's going to say that there's never any election fraud anywhere, this is obviously also false.
Yep.
If 100 million people vote, the probability that the fraud is zero is zero. There's going to be,
of course, there's always going to be some.
A little.
But is it going to, right? I mean, the tiniest bit, perhaps. I mean, this election was audited. It was so many judges. I mean, it went on and on and on, and there was nothing whatsoever that I don't want to debate this with you. My question is more about.
I think.
Yeah, just like there was no Hunter Biden's laptop. You even said so yourself. But now look, 4 years later. So were you wrong then, or are you wrong now? You see what I'm saying?
It's important to say, like, that in any given election, even if you try your hardest, if you've got 100 million votes, there's going to be some amount of fraud that is not zero. And that it's important to acknowledge that without saying that the fraud was of sufficient magnitude to change the outcome. Mm-hmm. So my opinion would be that there was some small amount of fraud, but it was not enough to change the outcome.
Right, and by the way, it might have been either way. I mean,
Yeah, this was probably a little bit of each way.
But again, it's going to be, you're going to let people say that, though, on Twitter, and then you're going to hope that they're corrected.
They will be corrected.
They will be.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
And that dude knows that because he's on Twitter. He know how Twitter get down. But I get it as an interviewer in CNBC, and we know who owns CNBC. So, you know, he has to dance the way they want him to dance because they the one that signs his check. And then Elon, he has to dance too, because at the end of the day, he needs to sell Twitter. He needs to get Twitter in the black, and he needs to sell cars. That's all it is. That's all I got. Y'all let me know what you think. Rate, comment, share, subscribe. Bye.